in order to be successful for today's class, we are moving through content super, super quick. Pull out a notebook. We are moving. You have been without me for 3 days. I'm sure you missed me. Tears were shed, yes? Can you at least pretend a little bit better? Okay. Hanky is not feeling better. Hanky still has a fever. He went to my husband's office today for a few hours. Destroyed that place. And he works at like a fancy like firm and all that stuff, and like a bougie building and all that stuff. And there's a toddler just creating chaos. But tomorrow it's also my husband's responsibility, so I ain't gonna worry about it. Pros, cons, pros, cons. Here we go. Your heading is Gunpowder Empires. Okay, here we go. You need to know that Ottomans, write down Ottomans, next to right under Gunpowder Empires. Oh, at the very top of your notes, of course, write week 7, 8, 7, what is it? 7. Tomorrow's week 8, right? Week 7, and write really big above it, 1450 to 1750, because we're in a new time period. We've only been in 1200 to 1450, and now we're in 1450 to 1750. So write it nice and big, because it's a big deal. It's a big shift. Ottomans, you need to know largest under Gunpowder Empires. You were writing largest, longest. Safavid, unique, Shiite. What is Shiite? Okay, Muslim group. We need to be a little bit more specific there, Joshua. Charlie.
It's a sect of Muslim.
Of Islam. Large or small? Small, so that makes it super unique. There's only 2 governments in the history of the world. So it's unique because it's Shiite. And then Mughals. You need to know. Wealthiest.
Here's what I found.
Shut up. Wealthiest. And you need to know India. All right. First one we're going to talk about is Ottomans. Okay. As you found out in writing week, there are some big themes in our essays. Yes, that some evidence was just really beautifully, easily used multiple times during multiple prompts. Ottomans have a bunch of them. There's a lot of information. So when I tell you to put a box around something, that means it'll be perfect in essays when we get to it in week 10. Here we go. Ottomans, you need to know that they will conquer Constantinople in 1453. Put a box around 1453. It is an important time period. Ottomans conquer Constantinople in 1453, and they name it what? Istanbul. And what is it called today? Yeah, so it's been that way since 1453. Okay, you need to know, ladies and gentlemen, the siege of Constantinople is a transformative battle. It uses cannon fire as a major tool, not a nice little cute thing. It's a major tool. That's why they won. Okay, there are some battles in history that literally military history are completely changed. Siege of Constantinople is one of them. After this battle, what does every single government try to build? Cannons, okay? After the American Civil War, guess what every country is trying to make? A Gatling gun, which is like a machine gun, but you actually hand crank it. It's wildly cool, but horribly destructive. And after the American Civil War, we had our first 2 ships in metal coating fight for each other, okay? The ironclads are what they were called. After that battle, guess what every military in the world was trying to build? Ironclad ships or iron ships, okay? So this battle is a big deal. Now going back to where you wrote Ottomans, Safavid, and all that stuff, put a big star. The reason why they're called the Gunpowder Empires is why, Emerson? They use gunpowder. But it's not just that they use gunpowder, because remember, the Mongols used gunpowder. Every inch they conquered was conquered by gunpowder. That's the difference, okay? The Mongols conquered their territory because of their horses and their short bows, yes? But they used gunpowder whenever they caught into like a little sticky wicket, okay? The Gunpowder Empires, they used it for everything. And that's what calls them the Gunpowder Empire. Okay, you need to know the Golden Age is Suleiman the Magnificent. You don't have to call him the Magnificent. Suleiman is sufficient. But it just sounds razzle-dazzle, doesn't it? Okay, you need to know that... Shut up. Suleiman is going to conquer into Austria. Austria. How white is Austria? When you think of people and you think of Austrians, do you think kind of white or really white people? Really white people, which means are they really deep into Europe or outside of Europe? They're deep. That is how far the Ottoman Empire got into Europe. They were in Austria. Isn't that wild? Anyway, so you do need to know that. Okay, this is the first term that you need to put in the box. Devashmir, which is right here. It's in purple. Devashmir, put it in a box. It's a term you have to know because it's going to be all over your vocab. And it's all over your vocab. And it's going to be all over your essays. Devashmir is a tax on Christian boys. It's a tax on Christian boys. First of all, why do they put a tax on Christian boys? What type of empire is it, Thomas? It's Islamic, okay? So anyone who was non-Islamic had to pay a tax. Devashmir is the Christian boy tax. You need to know that all Christian boys were forced to serve in the military. Write it down. Devashmir is that tax. Why do they want Christian boys to fight in the military? Think about it. Why? Why, Ellery? No, not at this point. This is the beginning. Easy. Yeah! Hi, yeah. Do you think they put the Christians behind the Muslim boys? No, because if you kill a bunch of Muslim kids, then, like, Allah's going to be pissed you killed a bunch of Muslim kids and you're going to have to, like, talk to God about it. But if you kill a bunch of Christian kids, is Allah going to be that pissed? No, they're not his people, so it's fine. So what do they do with all the Christian boys? They put them in the very front and the very center. So hoping that the Christian boys get killed first, saving the Muslim kids. Isn't that nice? Well, here's the kicker. Put a big star. The Christian boys outperformed the Muslims. They were incredibly brave. You don't need to write the incredibly brave part. Okay? Put a big star though. Will lead to higher respect for all Christians. So, Devashmir was essentially trying to kill all the Christian boys by putting them in the front of all the Muslim boys. So that way we're not killing Muslims. We can kill Christians before we get to the Muslims. Well, it kind of backfired because who were incredibly fierce fighter? The Christians. So it will elevate the status of Christians within the Ottoman Empire. So Christians will be more respected because of Devashmir. Okay? All right. You also need to know the term Janissaries, also Ottoman, okay, Janissaries. You need to know that Devashmir requires Christian boys to serve a tax. Janissaries are what we call Christian boys who serve under Devashmir. Write it down. So when the boys, Christian boys are actually serving the Ottomans, they're called Janissaries. And they become an elite force, like they are the preeminent force. They're like the samurais of the Japanese. Like, that's how highly regarded they are. So, being a Christian at the beginning of Devashmir was kind of like a black mark, right? It was kind of like, ah, man, let's kill these kids, put it to good use. Now they're seen as like the heroes of the military, okay? Kind of like our Navy SEALs kind of thing, that elite status, our Marines, our Navy SEALs, all those types of things. All right. You need to know women have a moderate to low role. Okay, they have more power than Europe because it's better to be a Muslim than it is to be a Christian. So they were somewhat respected. They do have things called harems in the Ottoman Empire. They do kind of care about that. It's like women all live together in the Ottoman Empire. I mean, you could kind of get into the weird, sex stuff of it. There was some of that more towards the end, but that's not what it was based on. It was more of just kind of the influence of having all the women like work together and stuff like that. All right, you do need to know that the Ottomans are Sunni. You have to understand that they are Sunni, which is why they hate the Safavid. Why do they hate the Safavid? Because they're what? They're Shiites. So you need to understand that the Ottomans are Sunni. You also need to know that they implement Sharia law, which if you don't know how to spell, it's over there. Sharia law. My little clicker thingy isn't working, but it is working, but not working. I don't know. Okay, Sharia law, which is Islamic codification. You also need to know the term millet system. Put a box around it. It's very useful in essays. In case you haven't heard, the Ottomans are super loved by AP. Can I tell you that right now? Okay, they love it, which is why you have so many non-negotiable vocab terms. The millet system is because the Ottoman Empire was so diverse, write it down, because the Ottoman Empire was so diverse, each religion got their own court system. Each religion got their own court system to keep peace amongst the diversity. So, if you're a Christian, you go to a court made for? Christians. If you're a Muslim, you go to courts made for? And if you're a Jew, you go to courts made for? Jews. So everyone had their own special thing. Put a star. The lack of unity will cause the collapse of the Ottomans into factions. Factions. Okay? It's one of the biggest reasons. Have you noticed now that we've started going, every time we do a star, it's always your analysis? Yeah, that's what it is. If you go back through all your notes, every time you see a star, it's analysis. It's tying it to a future event. Okay? That's what it is. It's trying to let you see the big picture here. What do you got?
Within the millet system, it says because the Ottoman Empire was so diverse, each religion had their own court system.
Court system to be tried in. So if you're to be tried in. So if you're a Christian, you get tried in a Christian court. If you're a Jew, you get tried in a Jewish court. Because of how diverse they were, it was trying to unify them under at least some sort of control. But it eventually will divide them. All right. You need to know it declines. It's not going to decline for a while. We're going to be talking about the Ottomans until just before Christmas break. The Ottoman ends in 1917. So 1453 to 1917. Okay, it ends after World War I. Yeah, it's been around for a long time. And you need to know it's because it's ethnic diversity. Ethnic diversity, which goes back to that millet system, which allowed ethnic diversity to continue. It's going to cause its downfall. The second major reason, it refuses to industrialize. When I use the word industrialize, what does that mean? What's industrialize? Come on now. I see you, Thomas. I'm not trying to ignore you. Rohan, what's industrialize mean? Yeah, it's using machines to do work. Okay, factories, all that stuff is industrialization. The Ottomans refused to industrialize. Kind of funny. They thought it was a fad. They thought it would just kind of go away. Oops, they're wrong. All right, here we go. Your next one is the Safavid. Okay, Safavid. You need to know they're Shiites. Write it nice and big. You have to know they're Shiites. Safavid. You need to know they're Shiites. You need to know that they are they collapse first. Shiites, Safavid collapse first. Okay, you need to know that the Battle of Chaldiran. You have to know this term, put it in a box. It's the only term you need to know for Safavid. The Battle of Chaldiran is you don't need to write this part. It's a cornerstone battle. It's like if the United States and China goes head to head in a battle today in 2023. Okay? Actually, that's not fair because we are dominating China right now in technology, but they're creeping up. In like 20 years, if China and the United States go head to head in a battle and like go at it straight on, that would be what Chaldiran is. It is the two mega powers clashing. Historians are still studying this battle, but that's how important it is. It is between the Ottomans and the Safavid. The Battle of Chaldiran is the battle between the Ottomans and the Safavid. Who do you think win? Ottomans, because we know they exist till 1918. The Ottomans win. However, the Safavid are going to change the way wars are fought for the rest of eternity. That's why it's so fascinating. Okay. You need to know that it will deepen Sunni versus Shiite split. So it's going to cause religious complications as well. So the Battle of Chaldiran is a military wonder. Everyone's fascinated by it. And second thing you need to know, it causes even more of a conflict between the two. Okay. You need to know it will slowly die off after the Battle of Chaldiran. Write it down. It slowly dies. Okay, it is known for its education. It's known for its education. It had some of the most brightest scholars, Islamic scholars in the world, like in the history of the world, like incredibly brilliant the way they fostered it. They're also known for their rugs. Yeah, I know you're passionate about rugs, so you appreciate this. But if you're in AP Art History, you're going to study, I think, 2 of the Safavid rugs. So good times ahead. Yep. All right, and that's it. That's all you need to know. Okay, last one, best one, Mughal. Last one, best one, Mughal. You need to know it's in India. You need to know it's the richest. Okay, stop for 2 seconds, listen to this, and I'll tell you what to write down. Okay, so the Mongols are going to collapse, yes? Okay, they collapsed because of 2 reasons. What are the 2 reasons the Mongols collapsed? Thomas? Okay, well, it divides because he's a mortal human. But it lasts for like 300 years after he dies. So that's not a great answer. What is a good answer, though? Why does it decline, Thomas? No. Why does it decline? What do you got? Plague. The bubonic plague is going to wipe out China, which is where it's going to start eroding everything else. The second reason is what society, Charlie?
I was gonna say because like they're not unified because of this.
No. What do you got, Viola?
The
White Lotus Society. So the Mongols are going to collapse in China by the bubonic plague, and the White Lotus Society is going to create the Ming Dynasty. Yes? We know this is coming. Okay, the Ming Dynasty, which you don't know yet, is all about cultural repair. They are trying to make China back to China, and all they care about is cultural achievements. Making pots. They're doing the foot binding again. They're focusing on only culture and arts, and they're not focusing on trade. So the transition of trade is going to leave China and shift where, you think? India. So China used to be the center of worldwide trade under the Mongols. Yes? Everyone's trying to get there. After the Ming take over, they don't give a shit about trade. They just want to be back to Chinese. They want to shed all the Mongol stuff. They don't want to be Mongols anymore. They want to be Chinese. They don't give a shit about trade. All of that centralizing trade power is now going to shift to India. So, write down, because of the Ming's lack of interest in trade bursts into India. Now, has India always been trading?
Yes.
Yes, of course it's always been trading. But now it's the center of the world. Okay? So, India now becomes the center of worldwide trade. Everyone wants to go to India, which is going to make India lots and lots of money. And it's all happening under the Mughal. Okay? You need to know that they call themselves Mughal in honor of the Mongols, but they're not actually related to the Mongols. Just be aware of that. Okay, the Golden Age is under a guy named Akbar. Akbar is the Golden Age. Okay, he believes in religious tolerance. That's his big claim to fame. He's honestly a really great guy. You don't need to write that down, but just know he's one of the few good guys out there. Isn't that nice? We don't have many of them, so let's embrace the ones we got. Akbar, religious freedom. He wanted Sikhism. 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 It's not up there. Okay? It's syncretism of Islam and Hindu. Why would he want these 2 religions to blend together? Why would he want it, Emerson?
They're causing a violence in India.
Yeah, they're causing all of these bad blood between them. It's causing huge issues. So he wants them to blend together and see that they're very similar. Okay? He's a really great guy. Did I tell you that? He's a great guy. All right. So you need to know, after Akbar, we have Shah Jahan, who's his grandson. If you're in AP Art History, you're going to deal a lot with Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan builds this. What is it? Yeah, Taj Mahal. If you know nothing about India, you know the Taj Mahal exists. It is. Have you never seen it before? It's very cool. It's a burial plot. No one lives there. It's a death plot. Yeah. It's so pretty, and it's for dead body. Shah Jahan's wife is buried in there. I think he's buried in there too. I don't really remember. Ren will tell you. Don't tell him I didn't know. All right, Shah Jahan. You need to know that Shah Jahan is going to increase trade in India. So he is going to purposely increase world trade within India. So Shah Jahan is the guy who made so much money he could build the Taj Mahal. That's how much money he made for India. Okay, you also need to know that under Shah Jahan, the caste system becomes more embedded in India. Okay, the caste system becomes more embedded under Shah Jahan, including a new tradition, and I would put this in a box because AP loves this. It's called Sati, S-A-T-I. Now, don't write this down. I'll tell you what to do. Imagine my husband, and I actually do really love my husband, and he's also very cute. Thank you for asking. Okay, so imagine my husband gets hit by a bus today. Okay, he's dead. At his funeral, in India, they burn bodies. Yes, they don't bury them. They burn bodies. So at his funeral, I'm crying hysterically because it's my husband and I actually do like him. His body is burning because that's how they do Hindu deaths. And I have to, in honor to truly honor my husband, I have to throw my body onto his body and burn myself alive. That's sati. It requires, write it down, it requires women to kill themselves when their husbands die. Now, if you're thinking, I would never kill myself by throwing myself onto fire, I think we can all argue fire would be a terrible way to go. Can we agree? Ugh. With that being said, what happens if you don't kill yourself when your husband dies? You could be stoned to death, or you're going to be completely rejected from society, which means no one will talk to you, your children will never get married, and their entire life is completely in jeopardy, which means you are a complete and utter failure, and everything about your life is over anyway. So what do most women feel forced to do? Yeah, they kill themselves. Yeah. So imagine, I at least have a husband that I love. Imagine if you had a shitty husband, and then you had to kill yourself on top of it. Now, sati is a perfect example of what P word? Patriarchy. Put it down, write it down. It's a perfect example of patriarchy, which is going to become even more deeply embedded in India due to Shah Jahan's rule. Okay? Today in 2023, what is the most patriarchal state in the world? India. Guess what? Every once in a while you hear a story out of India that a woman had to commit sati, where she had to kill herself, or the whole rest of society would have either stoned her, or she would have been completely and utterly shunned and been a huge disgrace.
Still stone people in India?
Yeah, they do. In the rural parts. I mean, they're not doing it in the middle of the capital city, but in the rural parts. Guys, think of how long their culture has existed, yes? Do you think it's easy to shake off these types of things or hard to shake them off? I know, I feel like there's a Taylor Swift reference there somewhere. Okay? It's really hard to get rid of these types of cultural things. So in rural parts where patriarchy is super embedded, we're seeing lots of this. I mean, there was a case 4 years ago where one woman was raped by 16 men because she simply said, no, I won't move. To teach her a lesson, they raped her. 16 of them. On a bus. Yeah. And they threw her body to the side, and it created a huge case, and only 2 men got arrested. Yes, it's a huge mess. What do you got?
Or Brahmins at the top and bottom of the caste system chart.
Where do you see Brahmins? At the bottom.
Bottom right. The last one.
They're untouchables.
They're at the top and bottom of the chart.
I'm literally looking at the chart.
Like the pyramid, not the rectangle at the bottom. Look at the bottom of the pyramid, it says service
Tivishes. Oh,
servants
2.
too.
Yeah, people who work for him. All right, here we go. Then you have, so Shah Jahan is going to really codify patriarchy, and he's going to make things really hard for women. India is not a place you want to live. It doesn't want to a place you want to live in 2023. Not ideal. Okay? However, this guy, Mr. A, who's not a shot in hell, I'm going to say his name right. Okay? Mr. A is going to become a Muslim zealot. Write it down. Or he's going to try to purify India of all Hindus. Why is that a problem? Thomas?
Because the majority of India is Hindu.
Yeah. So how many people do you think he killed?
None.
Well, he tried. He didn't get rid of Hindus because, frankly, we still have Hindus today. But he's going to try to kill off as many Hindus as he can during his reign. So Akbar, awesome. After Akbar, go straight to shit. Okay. However, what are they making lots of? Money, because trade in China has pretty much ceased to an absolute kind of standstill because the Ming don't really care about money. They care about culture and art and doing cool things. Okay, so it all is shifting to India. That is why India has so much money. They can build things like the Taj Mahal. Even though they have bad rulers, there's just so much money coming in. It kind of keeps it subsidized. Put a big star. The British Empire will conquer the Mughal in the 1730s. Okay, so no one can really challenge the Mughal for quite some time because they are just making so much money. They can spend that money on guns and all that stuff. Their leadership is not particularly great, but they have so much money coming in from worldwide trade. Only the British can knock them out, and that's happening in the 1730s. Okay, so that's the long term. All right, skip a space, center it. Here we go. Protestant Reformation. So we're done with the gunpowders, and we're now moving through. We've already talked about this, how when you see the king and queen of England, anytime you see a European royalty, pretty much all of those jewels are coming from where? India. India is where most of them are coming from. Some of them are going to come from Africa, especially your Denmark. Those are going to be coming from Africa, but most of them are coming from India. Okay, so the Protestant Reformation. You need to know that it is going to be supported by the printing press. Okay, it is supported by the printing press. Where do you think the printing press was originally invented? China, because everything starts in China. It starts in China, and eventually a guy named Gutenberg, and you do need to know that name. You should know that name already. Gutenberg is the guy who brings it to Germany. Okay, and that's when Europeans really get access to the printing press. Okay. What is a printing press, just to make sure we're all on the same team here? Amy, what's a printing press? Yep. It literally copies papers, makes it so it'll increase literacy. Write it down. When I say literacy, what do I mean, Mr. Harding? What's literacy? Yeah, it's reading. Okay? Why does it increase with the printing press? It makes perfect sense. Why does it increase, Marla? It's not easier, because reading is still hard. I mean, I'm trying to teach Hank how to read. It's not. Yeah, there's more stuff to read, guys. Okay, how many words do you think were painted on things before the printing press? Not that much. You'd have to really go out of your way to find a book. Now that we have a printing press, the price of copying goes way down. So all of a sudden you have pamphlets, you have newspapers. So all of a sudden words are in much more, many places, which makes it easier to do. All right, here we go. Okay. So you cannot understand the Protestant Reformation without understanding the fact that the Gutenberg printing press was happening. Okay, this is what Christianity looked like. Okay, so Christianity, everyone is Catholic. Everyone is the same. You're essentially Catholic until 1054, and we have the First Great Schism. First Great Schism creates the Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox, yes? Now we're here in 1517. Once we get the Protestantism, Roman Catholic is going to continue because it still exists today. I'm a bad one. Then you have Protestantism, and you're going to have three major sects. You have Anglican, Calvinist, and Lutheran, which are going to fragment off here in a second. So if you are not a Catholic, which is fine, you're one of these if you identify yourself as a Christian. Okay, so if you're up there, and if you're not up there, there's thousands more, so don't feel like you're unloved by history. Okay, here we go. So let's talk about it. You need to know a guy named Martin Luther. Is he black? No. Thank you. Thought I made that pretty clear on your map today. He is not black because he's German, and it's 1517, so he's a white guy. Okay? You need to know Martin Luther in 1517. You need to know that date. I'd put a block around it. That is a great piece of evidence, and it's a transformative moment in European history. Is going to write the 95 Theses. Okay? The 95 Theses, or 95 complaints against the Catholic Church. You need to know that. They're complaints. Okay. You need to know, put a big star. Luther did not want to create a new sect. He just wanted to fix Catholicism or Roman Catholic. Okay? Martin Luther, was he trying to create a whole new sect? Hell no. He wasn't. He just wanted to fix the Catholic Church. However, when the Catholic Church tries killing you 37 times, you're kind of like, shit, maybe this isn't going to work out for us. And that's why he creates his own sect. Okay? Now, Martin Luther gets to die of old age, but he has like 5 people eat his meals before he gets to have a bite, and he lives in safe houses for the rest of his life. It's not a great life for him, mostly because if you piss off the Catholic Church, especially at this time, they're going to get you. And if they don't get you, they're going to make your life hell. Here we go. You need to know the number one complaint about Luther is a thing called indulgences. You have to know the term indulgences. Put a box around it. Okay. Do not write this down. I'll tell you what to write down in a second. Okay. So last night, things got wild. Okay? Things got wild. I killed a guy. Oops. Shit happens. Yes? We've all had nights like that. So, I go to the church. And I say, forgive me, Father. I go and I sit in confession. And I'm like, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. And Father, in the little box, you know what I'm talking about? I don't know if if you're not Catholic, you've seen the movies. You're sitting in the little box, and on the creepy voice on the other side says, child, tell me what sin you've committed. And I'd be like, dude, I killed a guy last night. Things got real. I'm so sorry. And the Father would be like, that is a cardinal sin, one for hell. And I'd be like, I know. Oops. But I don't want to go to hell. What can a girl do? And he will say, you should pray to Jesus 6 times a day. But if you pay me $500, you can go to heaven. And I'm like, that's a hell of a deal. $500 and I get to go to heaven. My soul is clean. Hell yeah. So what do? I pay him with the stolen dead guy's money. Yeah? Pay the $500 and guess where I'm going? Heaven, until the next wild night and to kill the next guy. Shit. What do I have to do? Go back to talk to my Father and say, hey, did it again. And he's like, it's $600 this time. What do I got to do? Pay. Here we go. An indulgence. Write it down. An indulgence is when you pay the Catholic Church to go to heaven. Quick question. I don't know if you're a Catholic, Christian, whatever you are. Do you think Jesus wanted you to buy forgiveness? Even if you're not a Christian, I think we can all agree Jesus didn't want that. But the Catholic Church did it. And they did it for 2 buildings that you know of. Notre Dame Cathedral in France, built by indulgences. How many sins do you think the people in France did if they could build such a fancy church? Okay? Also, the Vatican, also built by indulgences. Now, how many terrible things did the Italians do during this time period? Thomas?
So like the entire thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, what wasn't stolen from the Colosseum? They got, all these people. So, is this a big problem or a small problem? It's a big problem. I don't know if you know. Even if you're not Christian or Catholic, you know of those 2 churches. Can we agree? The Vatican is the church of Christianity, of Catholicism. And, if you've been to France, you have to go to Notre Dame. With that being said, it's a huge deal. Okay? So, that's his biggest complaint. You need to know the people who believe in Martin Luther are called Protestants. Because they're protesting. See that? See that? Isn't that great? They're protesting the Catholic Church, so they're called Protestants. So these are people who support Martin Luther. Okay. You need to know that there are 2 major sects of Protestantism that you have to know. The first one is Calvinism. It's started by a guy named Calvin, John Calvin. Okay? He believes that salvation is predestined. You do need to know that. What does predestined mean? What does predestined mean, Jade?
It's going to happen. It's determined.
Yeah. As soon as you're born, if you believe in Calvinism, you believe Henry Bennett is either going to hell or heaven before he was born. And this week, I tell you, he's probably going to hell. He's been such a pain. And he's literally has 102 fever, all the time. This kid is so sick. Anyway, with that being said, it's predetermined. It's very unique. You need to know its followers. In Scotland, are we called Presbyterians? I don't know. You don't need to know that one. But I do need you to know in France, they're called Huguenots. And in England, they're called Puritans. You should know Puritans. Why? Who are the Puritans? Charlie, who are they? Their holiday's coming. It's actually my favorite holiday. It's not Halloween, dude. That would be weird. Callie? Thanksgiving. The Pilgrims are Puritans. That's why they have buckles on everything. That's like the sign of a Puritan, because you're about simple and focused. Okay? That's what they are. So for England, they get kicked out of England. The Puritans get kicked out of England, and where do they go? They go to America and set up the Massachusetts Bay. You don't need to write that. They set up Massachusetts Bay Colony, and after about 100 years of being there, everyone else is like, dude, you people suck, and they kick all the Puritans out because they're really hard to live with. Okay. Anglicanism. Anglicanism is in England, and it's created by Henry VIII. You do need to know that. Anglicanism is created by Henry VIII. He rejects Catholicism because he wants a divorce. He wants a divorce. Okay? So it's political. Underline political. Anglicanism was created for political desire, not because he had a true religious belief. Okay. You do need to know Henry VIII, obviously. He's the one who converts it. But does anyone know his daughter's name? Queen Elizabeth I. We have two Elizabeths in history, the one who just died, and then we have Elizabeth I. You need to know Elizabeth I. Elizabeth I, okay, is a true believer in Protestantism. Write it down. She is an actual true believer. Is her dad a true believer? Hell no. But she is a true believer. Okay? She's also a boss. Like, she is amazing. If you think of what makes England, that's this chick. She creates joint stock companies. Write it down. You don't know what that is yet? You're about to spend a lot of time talking about it. 1450 to 1750 is all we talk about is joint stock companies. She creates it. Damn. Second thing, she wins the Spanish Armada. She defeats the Spanish Armada. In 1588, I'd put a box around that date. That's a good date to know. So far, you should have two new dates, 1517 and 1588. Okay, you don't need to write this down, but let me tell you. Protestant Reformation is going to lead to the 30 Years' War. We'll talk about it in a sec. Don't write it down. We're going to talk about it. Then 30 Years' War, we have Catholics versus Protestants. England is Protestant. Spain is Catholic. Spain is going to send the largest fleet ever assembled. And they're going to go straight after England because he's like, it's a woman. She won't know how to fight. Guess who won? Elizabeth I. This is what makes England the most powerful nation in the world. So what year does England become number one in the world? 1588. What year does it come down? 1770. No. I like that American patriotism, though. I like that American confidence. 1918. 1918. It is no longer the most powerful nation in the world. Who becomes the most powerful nation in the world in 1918? America. We're in 1918. Because after World War I, all of Europe has been decimated by the war. Everyone's been bombed and like it's chaos. Who's the only country completely and utterly intact? So who's making all the money? There you go. And we use it to invest completely and utterly in the future, which is why we kick butt, take names. There we go. All right. Counter-Reformation. Counter-Reformation. Okay, so the Protestant Reformation is happening. Do you think the Catholics were like, oh my God, this is so wrong. How could they do that? No, actually, funny enough, Roman Catholics haven't acknowledged, in 1996, this is a fun fact for you. In 1996, the Catholic Church finally acknowledged that the earth was not the center of the universe. 1996. 1996. So how often do you think the Catholic Church says, Joshua, that they're wrong?
No.
Yeah. So immediately after, put your phone away. Hello, rude. Thanks. I've been gone for 3 days. After the Protestant Reformation, we have the Counter Reformation. This is when the Catholic Church says, "Oops, we did make mistakes." Write it down. The Counter Reformation is when the Catholic Church tries to correct some of Martin Luther's points. Okay? So, the Catholic Church looks at themselves. It's completely fractured its power. It's lost almost a third of its people immediately. Okay? And they're like, shit, we screwed up. The first thing they do is start an inquisition. Oops, not a great first foot. The Inquisition is happening in Spain, and they're killing anyone they suspect is Protestants. Good look or bad look? It's a bad look in retrospect, but they really didn't want Protestants in Spain. Fun fact, guess who most of the people they killed were who? No, well, most of them weren't. Women. They used it as an opportunity to kill off loud, big-mouthed women. I'd be dead. I'm definitely getting burned. Definitely getting burned. Inquisition. It's in Spain. They're trying to find Protestants, but they're just killing anyone they want. Okay. Second is what we call the Jesuits. Oh my God, like the Jesuits we have in Tampa? Yes. Okay. They are education-based and missionaries. They are education-based and they are missionaries. Okay? So, they are going around and trying to convert more people to Catholicism.
Do we need to know who the founders
No, I don't. No, are you an APR? Yes, you are.
Yeah.
You're going to study his church in England. It's one of the most beautiful, in Italy, it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. And I had no idea what I was walking into, and I was literally blown away. One of my favorite moments in Rome. All right. Then you've got the Council of Trent. The Council of Trent is the most important that we care about. Okay, the Council of Trent is where they outlaw indulgences. So, hot damn, did the Catholic Church learn a thing? Yes, they did. 60 years later, but that's fine. Okay, Council of Trent is where they ban indulgences. Okay, this stabilizes the Catholic population in Europe. It stabilizes it. A lot of people bailed. A lot of people were thinking about bailing, and it helps stabilize this. Okay. This is all under Protestant Reformation because the Protestant Reformation is going to cause the Counter-Reformation, which will absolutely cause the 30 Years' War. Here we go. The 30 Years' War is Catholics versus Protestants throughout the entire continent of Europe. 30 Years' War. By the way, you've done nothing for 3 days. You can do this for 47 minutes. Joshua, right. 30 Years' War, Catholics versus Protestants. On the Catholic side, you need to know it's Spain and Portugal. On the Protestant side, it's Germany and England. Those are the two big ones. Okay? Now, who wins the war? No. Protestants are going to win, but that's not the important part. What does come down is what we have is the Peace of Westphalia, and you should put it in a box. It's a beautiful piece of evidence that you can use many, many places. Okay. The outcome of the 30 Years' War is going to be the Peace of Westphalia, which creates sovereign states. Soverigne. Sovereign states. What is a sovereign state? Thomas? Oh, Viola, what do you got?
It's a state that only believes in one religion.
No. What do you got, Charlie?
Like a state that rules itself.
There you go. A sovereign state is a country that is self-contained and no outside intrusion. Okay, listen to this. You don't need to write this down. So, the Spanish Armada, which happens in 1588, well, all the fleets of Spain go and sail to England because it's Elizabeth I. He thought it would be an easy win. And England has turned from Catholic to Protestant. Well, Spain is a super Catholic nation. So what they do is like, we're going to stop you from turning Catholic. So what they do is they sail their fleet to stop England from turning Catholic. Is it really any of Spain's business what England's doing? No. That idea is a sovereign state. The idea that you control what happens in your boundaries and you are held accountable to no one is a sovereign state idea. It's the foundation, put a star, it's the foundation of modern geopolitics. Peace of Westphalia is the foundation of modern politics. As long as you are not committing a genocide, you can do whatever you want in your country. Even if you do commit a genocide, will America sit back and not do anything? Yes, because China's doing it, India's doing it. It's happening all over the world. But that's a whole other day for another thing. Okay. Skip a space, center it. We're done with the Protestant Reformation. We're now under a thing called absolutism. And I love absolutism. I think it's fascinating. All right, absolutism. This is like a good week, and Henry ruined it. Here we go. Absolutism is when a king is given authority to rule by God. We've talked about it roughly, but we haven't really gone into it. Absolutism is when a king is given the right to rule by God, and it's created by a thing called divine right. So absolutism and divine right are right there next to each other. Divine right is because you were born in the position, God selected you. So they are hand in hand, but they're not the same thing. So absolutism is the belief that the king has been hand-picked for God. And it happens in two countries, France and Russia. France and Russia. Yeah. No, that's from week 7. That's week 7. No, I wrote that on Monday morning. Bye.